Please note, this episode contains discussion of suicidal ideation and may not be suitable for everyone. Welcome to Secretly Sporty. I am your host, Sebastian Langdell, and I'm joined here with my co-creator, Austin Rackless. Hey, Austin.
Hey, Sebastian. How's it going?
It is good. How's your week going?
My week is going good. I'm still kind of floating on a high because last week I told you I was preparing for a tennis tournament.
Yes.
Well, I played in the tennis tournament. And I won first place.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh, thank you.
You are a competitive sport devotee. And our guest today, Jason Kander, also a team sports, competitive sports kind of dude.
Yeah, he plays wooden bat adult baseball at a very high level. And he really makes the case in this episode for why he believes that organizing your fitness around team sports is like the ultimate hack.
For sure.
I mean, I bought it.
Yeah.
Jason's an amazing guy. He is former Secretary of State of Missouri. He flirted with a presidential run, and I don't know if he's friends with Obama, but he knows Obama.
Yeah, President Obama comes up in this episode comparing a writing routine to a gym routine.
Jason is the author of 2 books, including Invisible Storm, which is about his experience with living with untreated PTSD for 10 years and then how he got treatment for it. I read that book. I thought it was really insightful. He's really honest and vulnerable in it, and he brought some of that to this episode.
He definitely did. Yeah, he speaks so candidly about that. I really appreciated that.
Absolutely.
We touch on one of my favorite sports novels, too, The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach, which is a novel set at a liberal arts college, and baseball is at its center. I think that is truly the book that kind of just like opened baseball up for me.
It was fun to hear how passionate Jason also was about that book.
Yeah.
And I have to say, he is probably one of the only people on the planet who likes peanut butter more than I do.
Same. I will stomp for peanut butter at any point.
I mean, it is a perfect food, in my opinion.
No notes. Unless it's like unsalted or too oily or something.
That's true. Okay, we have some notes.
Yeah. Well, should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
All right, here is Jason Kander. Well, Jason, it is great to have you here. We like to start by asking you about your most recent workout. So what was it for you and how'd it go?
Today is like a rest sort of in between day, but I still work out on those days. So about an hour and a half ago, I went down into my basement and I hit off the tee for about 20 minutes. And then I walked on the treadmill at a 12 incline for 20 minutes.
Can you talk us through what a regular week looks like for you in terms of exercise?
Yeah, this is so fun. Nobody ever asked me these questions. I lift 3 days a week, and then I try and do stuff in between. For context, I'm 44 years old, but I play competitive wood bat baseball, not softball, in the summer. I play about 50 games a summer, a little bit in an 18 and over league, a little bit in a 30 and over league, a little bit in a 40 and over league. And I play with guys, most of whom at least played college, some of whom played pro. I didn't do either, so I have to work really hard to stay in the starting lineup. And like, we're overly serious about it. We travel a couple of times a year to big tournaments, stuff like that. So that's the context. So we're in the off season right now. So Mondays I lift. All my lifts are full body. They just emphasize different things. I have a trainer who designs workouts for me. And what he does is he trains ball players. I'm sure 95% of whom are college or minor league players. They're a lot younger than me. And so he adapts them to a guy in his 40s so that I don't hurt myself, but it's mostly the same movements. So I'll do that. Monday, it's about an hour workout. Before every workout, I hit off the tee for a bit. And then Wednesday, I will do another weights workout, but that's preceded by sprint training, like speed training is part of it. So it's another hour. And then the same thing on Friday. Different workouts each time, but all weights and speed. And then the days in between are the days that I do like that treadmill incline workout, still do the tee, sometimes play pickup basketball on Sundays. I usually take about 1 day a week where I just like walk the dog leisurely. So that's like the off season. And then the way it changes in the summer is I still do the weights workouts. I'm a little less likely to do the speed work because I'm playing baseball, and I play baseball 2 to 3 nights a week. So either way, I try to work overall, get exercise 5 or 6 days a week. Usually I'm trying to lift at least twice a week. Sometimes it's 3.
And when did baseball enter the picture for you?
That was my sport growing up. I played in high school. I was a good player. I wasn't a great player. I wasn't going to make it in baseball. I understood that, and I went to a college that didn't have a team. So I missed it like for 20 years. And then I was in politics. I dropped out of public life in 2018 to go get help for PTSD. I had served in the army in Afghanistan, and I had untreated PTSD for about 10 years. And as I started to treat my brain really well, I started to realize maybe I could get back to getting into good physical shape. And so from basically all of 2019, I started taking really good care of myself, and I got into really good shape. So there's this national league called the National Men's Adult Baseball League, and there's like 20, 30,000 guys across the country who play in this, and it's very serious and all that. When I was growing up playing ball, there was like a chapter of this league a couple miles from my house. So in the late 80s, early 90s, I was like 12 years old. I would go over there with my dad. I live in Kansas City, and we would watch guys who played for the Royals in the 1985 World Series are playing in this league. And so my whole professional life, I spent like 20 years fantasizing about the idea that one day I'll go back and I'll play in that men's league. Finally, there was a moment where I was like, I'm turning 40. I'm in really good shape. I should go try it. I joined this team, and then we started our own team, and I thought I was starting a baseball team, but actually I was starting a grown-up fraternity because these guys have become some of my closest friends in the world, and we come from all different walks of life, and it's awesome.
What position do you play in? Can you tell us a little more about like how the tournaments work?
I play center field, except when I play in the 18 and over league. I do tend to play right field when I'm playing with the kids. And how it works, I mostly play with this group of guys, the Kansas City Hustlers, our team, and we play 2 nights a week in this league in Kansas City. And it's, like I said, it's just this really close group of dudes. It's funny, I actually play on the fields that I finished out my high school time playing on. They're much nicer now, but it is really wild, right?
Yeah.
It's the same fields I watched those old Royals players play on as a kid growing up. In each age division, you've got like 5 or 6 teams in each of those leagues. And so you get to know the dudes you play against over the years. As far as traveling, like we go down, and there's this thing called the Men's Adult Baseball League World Series, believe it or not, and it's played in October. That's like the big tournament we play in at the end of the year. And that's a blast, man, because we go down, like this last year we went down and we get a huge Airbnb, and it's just you and your buddies, and you're there for a week. And you'd think like, oh, guys must be going out and having a good time. No, we're very serious about being there and playing baseball, and we're in our 30s and 40s, which means we're playing baseball at these like really nice stadiums and against some of the best, our age ball players around the country. And then at night, like, you just have to ice things.
Right. I mean, that is kind of amazing to have this sport that you always felt called towards, right? Like as a kid, it was your sport. And then being able to pick that up again as an adult, it sounds rejuvenating.
Oh, it absolutely is. It does 2 big things for me. One, like I said, I'm playing on, a lot of the time I'm playing on these fields I played on as a kid. And my dad, by the way, still lives very near them, and he comes to a lot of the games,
Oh,
and
nice.
so it's funny. I can be stressed about work, stressed about my family, stressed about whatever. And then I'll, Monday or Wednesday or Thursday night in the summer, and it's like the moment I step onto the field, even though I've seen video, I'm not as quick as I was when I was 17, and I look a little different doing it, but I feel like a kid.
Yeah.
What's fun about being still playing competitive baseball at this age, I mean, obviously I love baseball, but the other sort of benefits of it is I'm also a sports dad. So my kids are 12 and 5. So my daughter, she's playing like t-ball and little kid soccer, but my son, he plays baseball at a pretty high level for a 12-year-old. He plays very competitive tournament baseball. If he misplays a ball and runs in when he should run back and it's a line drive over his head, if it happens to another parent, I'll hear that parent yell at their kid, like, "What are you doing?" And I don't say a word because I'm like, I did that a week ago. and we get in the car and I'm like, "Hey man, you misread that. I totally see how. Frustrating, huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, that was a tough one." I'm like, "That's one of the hardest balls to play. It's going to happen again." And like, he knows the ride home is going to be the same either way. And I think a lot of that is because dad still plays competitive sports and knows that it's so hard. And that's been an awesome benefit of it for me.
Yeah. No, that's great. You can get into that mindset. You have that common ground.
And also my phone goes in my bag. Really, I mean, how many folks have something at our age where for 3 hours, 2 or 3 times a week, they don't look at their phone? That's great for my mental health. And then the other piece is it's really hard by this stage in life, as a dude anyway, it's hard to make new friends who are guys. And they tend to be either people you work with or your kids choose your friends. because you hang out with the other dads. But this is like a really different thing. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's a team where you've got guys from all sorts of different backgrounds who probably wouldn't have met and wouldn't have become friends otherwise, but instead we're all really, really close.
Yeah.
And it's a real gift as far as that goes. That's why I think as we age, one of the things that gets lost is team sports. Like some of us do a really good job of taking good care of ourselves and everything, but I really do feel like I found an unlock in doing it around a team sport, because it's just added a real richness to my life.
Sounds like the trajectory was taking care of your mind, then kind of more individualized exercise like the gym, and then team exercise, baseball specifically. Is that kind of how it went?
I was in the Army before, so I was in really good physical shape. And then I got out of the Army and I stayed in good shape for a while. And then as my career got more and more intense and my post-traumatic stress got worse, but I didn't treat it, physically it had a great effect on me. And I just thought, man, I'm getting old young. That's what I thought. I didn't realize, no, like all my stress is living in my lower back and I'm not taking care of myself and I'm getting sick a lot. When I started to feel better and I started to have the energy and the motivation to work out, plus honestly, I had the time. I had dropped out of my career. I started to realize, oh, mental health and physical health are completely intertwined. So then COVID came and I was 39 during COVID and I realized like, oh, I'm going to totally dive into this fitness thing as a hobby. But it was good in that I got into exceptional shape, but it was bad in that, in the past, I'd either been competitive as an athlete or I'd been a soldier. In either case, good reasons to be strong and fit. And now it was COVID and I wasn't doing anything else. So my only reason that I was like bodybuilding, I guess, and taking lots of pictures of myself. And so it was interesting, like I got abs and all that, but then I realized like I was like, kind of developing like a body dysmorphia and I didn't like the way it felt, and my wife was pointing out like, you're really thin.
Did you have a picture in mind of how you should look basically, and you were trying to meet that goal or that picture in your mind at first?
Yeah, and I started following Instagram accounts of like fitness influencers who were like 15 years younger than me and probably on, human growth hormone. And that, I think, for like 6-8 months kind of messed my brain up. What happened that was great was that then when COVID lifted and I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back and try and play baseball. And quickly what I realized was I'm too lean and I'm getting hurt a lot. And I can't seem to hit the ball very far. And so it gave me a different motivation for fitness, which is I want to be good at baseball. I want to not get hurt and I need to be strong. And that's been really good for me because I'm not real worried about, I look fine in the mirror, but it's not the reason I work out.
There's a book called The Art of Fielding by Chad Harbach, which is about baseball.
I loved that book, but I also hated that book because his writing is so incredible that as a writer, it makes me angry. And I can remember as I was reading that book, there were times where I would stop and I would say to my wife, like, I'm going to read you this paragraph. And it was just about the most random thing, but it was so beautifully written without being, too highfalutin. It was super accessible, but beautifully done. And I would read it and just say, like, I can't do that. And it's truly incredible.
I wonder, so you've written 2 books. How does your kind of writing change depending on the type of activity that you're doing? Like depending on what your exercise routine looks like?
Well, when the first book, I was just traveling the country getting ready to run for president and not really taking very good care of myself. The second book, I was taking very good care of myself, just mentally sharper. Actually, one time on this topic, ultimate name drop here, I guess, but President Obama and I was sitting with him and I was writing a book at the time, and so was he. His did better than mine, but by a lot. But we were talking about writing, and he said, sometimes I feel like writing is kind of like going to the gym. There's a lot of days I don't feel like doing it. I just need to go in there and start moving around. He gestured over to his desk where their laptop was. And he's like, I write right there. He said, some days I just don't want to do it. And I just need to sit down, open up the screen and start writing something.
Yeah, no, I know for me, there are days when I want to go for a run and I'm like, I can't wait. And I'm just going to go as fast as I can, as far as I can. But there are also mornings when I really want to blow it off and I have to kind of trick myself into the gym.
How do you do it? How do you trick yourself into doing it?
I'm very like music motivated. So one thing I do is kind of make a playlist that I want to listen to, maybe some new music, that kind of thing, and I'll not let myself press play until I actually get into the gym and start exercising.
Yeah, I'm the same way about the music. What I tend to do is when I know I don't want to do it, but I need to do it, I will go ahead and put in the AirPods and turn on the workout playlist. And it's a playlist I only listen to when working out. That kind of puts me in the right headspace, and then I'll head downstairs. The other thing that helps me a lot is I mentioned that I use this trainer. I hardly ever anymore go in and see him, but he uses an app. He monitors whether I'm working out. So I tell myself a story, and that story is Trevor is ashamed of me because I've only gotten in one workout this week and it's Thursday. I don't know that Trevor gives a damn at all, right? And so that helps me too, is like that accountability thing.
What kind of music do you tend to listen to when you work out?
Most of it's probably pretty predictable. It's like I was born in 1981, so there's a lot of stuff on there that were in like training montages in movies in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
You know, and then fair amount of like hip hop and rock. And then this is kind of embarrassing. It's an army dork thing. I'd say every sixth thing that comes up when I'm working out and plays is like a 20-second running cadence. It's just like, it's the sound of troops running and singing.
Oh, okay.
Because the origins of my like real physical training world was, you know, running with my soldiers and singing cadences. And so that tends to motivate me too.
When you're working out, is that a kind of space for you to get ideas for, you know, whether it's, you know, a new book idea or a podcast idea or a social media post idea? Is that kind of like a fertile space for you creatively?
Probably at least once every workout, I stop, walk over to my phone and write something down in the notes section. Because if I don't do that, I can't concentrate on what I'm doing. Like I got to get the thought from my brain down into you know, like written down.
You mentioned before realizing that you had untreated PTSD and then eventually treating it. Would you mind talking us through that and what that realization was like for you and the kind of first steps that you took?
Yeah, so I'll take you back to 2018. 2018, I am running around the country preparing to I say preparing to run for president, but really I was already running for president. I was spending a lot of time in Iowa and New Hampshire. I was hitting pretty much every state, headlining events, and thought that I was doing exactly what I dreamed of doing for a long time. And in many ways I was. And it was going pretty well. Professionally, it was going pretty well. Personally, I had been struggling with some stuff for a while that I had not been willing to admit to myself was post-traumatic stress. Stuff like night terrors, not feeling safe, just not getting much sleep because of the night terrors, and a whole bunch of other issues that are pretty typical of PTSD. But they had been getting gradually worse over time. And the story I was telling myself then was that I had not earned post-traumatic stress. In Afghanistan, I was a military intelligence officer in the Army. My job was to go out and meet with like unsavory characters who had information that we needed. And I understood that it was dangerous because it's oftentimes just myself and my translator. Nobody knew where we were. Nobody was going to come to save us. And we had to meet with folks who we didn't know their allegiances. And it was just the two of us bebopping around Afghanistan. But I had grown up, again, on like 80s and 90s action movies. And so I understood combat to be the conventional version. Like if bullets were not whizzing by your ear and you weren't crawling under rolling smoke all the time, then you're not a combat soldier. And so the story I was telling myself was I was just due to went to meetings. So then of course I come home and I start having all these really bad nightmares about being kidnapped. Even though I never was kidnapped, that was the big threat for me. It took me a long time to recognize the idea that I could consider myself a veteran of combat. And in fact, by 2018, I still wouldn't say that. To me, it felt like stolen valor.
Okay.
What happened for me is really the zenith of my political career was in early 2018. I was the keynote speaker at the biggest annual fundraiser for the Democratic Party in New Hampshire, which doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but in that world, it's a big deal. The year after me, the keynote was like Joe Biden, and the year before me, it was like Hillary Clinton. And the speech went really, really well. And the way things were working for me at that point in time was I was kind of riding these endorphin highs. I would give these big speeches or do these big media moments, and that would carry me over for like a week. And I wouldn't have to think about what was going on in my mind, and I could kind of avoid things. And this was the biggest of all of those. And after about 12 hours, it had completely worn off as an endorphin high.
Hmm.
I wasn't willing to say I have post-traumatic stress, but I was willing to say, okay, something is wrong. And it just happened to be the case that the next place I was supposed to go was Hawaii to speak to the Hawaii Democratic Party. And I was going to get to take my family, which I almost never did. So I took my wife and my son. We got there a couple of days beforehand, which again, I rarely got to do. And I slowed down for a couple of days. And I felt safe. And it was the first time I'd felt that way in a while. And I admitted to my campaign manager, I don't think I can do this. And I started to tell him I was feeling depressed and having these problems. Like, well, you could just go back to Kansas City and run for mayor. And I'm a fifth generation Kansas City and I love my town. And immediately I was like, that's what I need to do. And then I told myself, also, I'll go to the VA and see about maybe getting some mental health help. So I came back to Kansas City and I started running for mayor. And that was going objectively great. Honestly, it was the only campaign I was ever in, even for a moment, where I felt like I wasn't the underdog. And it should have been awesome. But I was getting quickly worse. And I went to fill out the paperwork for the VA and I wasn't willing to be honest about my full symptoms. I didn't really get into the VA for behavioral health. And after a couple months of campaigning, my suicidal ideation was becoming much more frequent. And I decided to dial the Veterans Crisis Line. And the whole time I'm real sheepish about it because I'm thinking, they're going to tell me like, hey, this is for people who really need this, like keep this channel clear sort of thing. The very first question maybe that the woman on the other end asked me was, have you had suicidal thoughts? Have you thought about hurting yourself? And the only person I'd ever said it out loud to was my wife. And I said yes. And then the way she talked to me, it clicked because I realized I didn't sound any different to her than any other veteran who had called the line. I could just hear it in her voice. And that was, I broke down at that moment. And that was when I realized like, okay, I actually got hurt over there and I've spent 10 years trying to tell myself I didn't. And so that's when I decided I was going to step away from everything and try and save my own life. And that's what I did.
Thank you for sharing that. You have been through a lot. I'm wondering now, how do you check in with yourself and ask, am I getting what I need?
Funny story. When I was going through trauma therapy, there was a day where like I was getting better. And then there was a period where I had like a couple of really low days, like really depressed low days. And I went in to see my therapist and I was like scared because I remember saying, his name's Nick. And I remember saying to Nick, I've made so much progress and is it slipping away? Am I going to lose it? And he said, how many days have you been feeling bad? And I said, it's like 2 or 3. And he said, sounds like maybe you're just having a shitty week. And it was a big deal to me because I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know I could just have 3 bad days and that was okay. And it didn't mean anything. I remember him talking to me about, this is what I've been saying about just feel the feelings. Like if you feel bad, let yourself feel bad. Don't fight it. Just work through it. Let yourself feel bad. And sometimes it's like figure out why you feel bad. And then if you figure it out, you're going to feel better. And sometimes you don't know why. And you just say, and I just say to myself, like, I am having, and I'll every few months, I'll say to my wife, like, I think I'm in a down. And it'll be like, I know it's going to last 2 or 3 days and I'm going to work through it and she's going to be helpful to me about it. And it doesn't mean like I'm sobbing, I'm non-functional. It just means like I'm a little irritable and I'm not feeling good about myself. But then there are other times where it's like, she and I have a rule. If she says to me, I think maybe you should schedule an appointment with Nick, I don't get to say like, no, I don't think I need to. It means I just go and I email Nick and I say, I'd like to do an appointment. And those are times when there is something really upsetting me and it doesn't seem to be getting better. So an example of that is I got really involved in Afghan evacuation efforts in 2021 and I went to therapy during that. And then I went to therapy after that. So there are times when it's like, okay, I need to go and address this. But for the most part, it's just realizing, oh, okay, I'm having a bad day.
Absolutely. And I think what you're saying, kind of communication with the spouse as well, the communication with your partner.
Yeah, just saying it out loud.
Yeah. And just get everyone on the same page.
Yeah. And honestly, also fitness. Like almost a year ago, I had a inguinal sports hernia, and I had to get surgery for it. And that meant I couldn't work out for like 6 weeks. That was really hard on my mental health. They're so interconnected now. It's very rare that I have a good day in the gym and a bad mental health day. And it's definitely the case that I'm more likely to have down days from a mental health perspective in the winter, one, because of the weather, I think, but also because it ain't baseball season. and there's no question I can have a down day in the summer, but I know that I'm playing baseball day after tomorrow. And I can kind of say like, so I got that to look forward to.
We like to end on a lightning round, so we have some kind of lightning questions for you.
Okay.
Cardio or strength training, if you had to choose one?
Strength training. I don't know. I like feeling the pump.
Protein shake or protein bar?
For convenience, I probably have a protein bar more often, but I actually have a really mean protein shake recipe that I really like.
Do you want to share the recipe?
Yeah, it's super simple. I do chocolate whey protein, almond milk, some peanut butter powder that's like almost no calories, but makes it taste like peanut butter, and then cacao nibs, and then ice, blend it up, and it tastes like a milkshake.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. How about cottage cheese or Greek yogurt?
I can't eat yogurt. I can't handle the texture for some reason. I wish I could because it's so good for you, and I love cottage cheese. I have a serving of cottage cheese for the casein protein before bed almost every night, usually with hot sauce.
Sauna or cold plunge?
Sauna. I can do a cold plunge a bit, but I'm a pretty big wimp when it comes to it.
How about swim in the ocean or swim in a pool?
Pool, man. I don't do the ocean. Sharks have been around since the dinosaurs. That makes them dinosaurs. And if you said there's a great hiking path through a forest, but there's velociraptors on that path, I'd be like, I ain't going. And I feel the same way about the ocean, man. I like where I am on the food chain.
Fair. And finally, peanut butter on a banana or a date?
I mean, I'll eat peanut butter off of a leather shoe. I don't care. I can't have it in the house because I think I have an addiction. If there's peanut butter in the house, there won't be peanut butter in the house tomorrow.
It's so good.
It's unbelievable. My parents always have peanut butter at their house, and so what I tell myself is like, I get to eat peanut butter when I go to my parents' house, and so I go there and I eat a lot of peanut butter.
There you go. Well, Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. This has been a pleasure.
Same for me. Enjoyed it. Thank you for letting me drone on about, as Ron Burgundy said, it's boring, but it's my life.
And when the river rises, where will we go?
Join us next time as we talk to poet and essayist Hanif Abdurraqib about how exercise transports him to another world, his infinite running playlist, and why he never wants to enter a marathon again. Or does he? See you then.
We're coming down on whatever will flow.
Secretly Sporty was created and is produced by Sebastian Langdell and Austin Rackless. It's hosted by me, Sebastian Langdell, edited by Austin Rackless and Andy Rattinger. Our music is composed by Catherine Joy, cover art by Ben Wiseman, represented by Illustration Division, Inc. This outro song you're listening to right now is Quad City Blues by Davey Andrews. Special thanks to Madeline Frederick and Liam Billingham.
We're coming down on whatever will flow.
Please note that we are not medical professionals nor personal trainers. Not all exercises are suitable for everyone. Always consult a doctor before starting any new exercise routine or nutritional program. The views expressed in this show are those of the show's creators or the guests, and not those of any other entity or institution.
I'm sick of all the friendly faces